A simple explanation of the internet would take us across 50 years of history, rapid change, and technological innovation. The internet has been a part of humanity for a while now and has formed a symbiotic relationship with mankind unlike anything we have seen before. It has turned us into an interconnected civilization and kindled a new golden age of information. But as much as this sounds great, anyone who has spent even an evening on the interwebs knows that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and that the internet probably causes just as much harm as it does good. The internet has caused us to be more disconnected than ever, despite it having a complete opposite purpose, and anyone who understands more than just the pure basics knows the nefarious things that take place online. Those things that we all wish weren't true, but deep down we all know that they're happening. Because the internet is so big, no one can ever explore it all, and so at the end of the day, the question still stands: what is the size of this massive network, and more importantly, how deep does it really go? We all have seen these icebergs circulating around claiming that the entirety of the internet is nothing more than just a tip of the iceberg, and that the majority of activity takes place behind closed doors in a side of the internet the average user never has a chance to see. We all heard nightmarish stories about the deep dark web and the illegal and terrible things that take place in this obscure corner of the net. But surely that's not true, right? Well, let's take a deeper look and travel from surface waters all the way down to the deep dark depths. Where will this journey take us? Will we find ourselves amongst criminals browsing for illegal substances? Or will we find ourselves in IRC chat rooms discussing topics about deep esoteric knowledge and forbidden truths? Or perhaps we will find ourselves face to face with something truly anomalous, something out of the realm of logic or reason, a form of abstraction that operates in ways outside of our comprehension. Join me on this journey into the deep, obscure, and dark depths of this thing we call the internet. We all have to start somewhere, and there's nowhere better to start than Google. For anyone who wishes to begin their internet browsing journey will most likely find themselves face to face with this simple white screen and the power to search for whatever their minds desire. Google is a representation of the clear web, the tippy top of everything. It's a gateway that can direct you to almost anything. Everything branches and connects from it, every website, social media platform, piece of content, or form of knowledge. You can use Google to access an infinite amount of forms. You can use Google to download pirated software, movies, and games from sketchy websites. You can use Google to literally learn how to do anything. Google is a powerful tool, and if used incorrectly, you can find yourself in some truly obscure, unknown, borderline illegal, and deeply disturbing places. The same can be said about Google's less powerful yet just as useful companion, YouTube. YouTube can give you access to over 3 billion videos, practically an infinite amount of content. The YouTube algorithm is a well-oiled machine, siphoning and funneling its users with never-ending content specifically designed and catered for their likes and needs. On the surface, YouTube wears a family-friendly mask, but sometimes there are tiny glitches in the system, little holes in the software that for a few seconds pull the curtains open and let you peek over the other side. The side that is usually overshadowed by millions of videos uploaded every day. Some of us find ourselves in these small corners of YouTube by accident. We know it simply as the weird side of YouTube. It has been apparent to people in the last couple of years that YouTube is not what it seems to be. The algorithm works to show people the most PG rated of content, which makes it seem that the platform is under control. Problem is, YouTube is far from under control, and the scary part is, there's potentially so much more unseen things are hidden in plain sight that we'll never discover, and for every fix that YouTube issues, there's gonna be 10 more problems that pop up. I'm not gonna go in detail of what kind, but you can let your imagination run loose. Honestly, YouTube is so big that you're sure to find everything on here. This has led people down a dark path of research that uncovered entire communities that use YouTube as a platform to host all kinds of weird and fucked up content. Some of this found footage is claimed to be from the deep web or snippets of illegal content that surface on the clear web. Some famous cases are Sad Satan, which was a video game that people discovered that apparently had real footage of gore and child. The game quickly grew into a phenomenon. A censored version surfaced as a downloadable that became huge as big YouTubers played it on their channel and claimed it to be a video game from the deep web. Or WorldCorp, something that has gotten a fair amount of attention, but a disturbing video nonetheless, and one that is potentially linked to illegal trafficking rings. Rabbit holes like this are few of many thousands. Of course, this issue is not special to YouTube. In fact, the internet is rigged with disturbing content that surfaces up seemingly out of nowhere and is later claimed to have come from the deep web. So naturally, one would think if there's so much footage that allegedly is from the dark web that surfaces up on the clear web, that means that there must be even worse things on the deep web. Well, let's find out. Let us fire up Virtual Machine, boot up Tor browser, and access this so-called hidden internet. Here we find ourselves in the so-called deep web, and while this might be a surprise to realize that the deep web in reality, at least the majority of it, is simply marketplaces. Free markets that pop up, either selling drugs, fake IDs, fake money, weapons, or some other form of contraband. And because websites on the dark web are continually going up and down, you will be lucky to even find one that actually works. Most are either scams or honeypots. So to access anything that is of any substance, you would want to get in contact with people. This would be done through Onion chat rooms, IRC chat rooms, or any form of chat service on the deep web. This is where you can get in contact with people who know a little bit more than just the average user, and if you get in with the right crowd, you can then get access to the true dark shit that you'll never find going through any wiki or search engine. The deep web functions through word of mouth. Websites get shared by people to other trusted people. This way, websites stay private to only trusted members, which means you need to spend a good amount of time on these chat rooms to get people to trust you to get any access to the private side of things. And even then, once you are in these private communities, if you aren't actively sharing things with them, you usually get booted off, because the way these places function is by holding dirt on their users, so that everyone who is in on it can be just as guilty as anyone else. This way, members can trust that no one will snitch, because in doing so, you're also snitching on yourself. Now, this is when things get interesting, because for anyone who has spent some time here, knows that the deep web is not some boogeyman internet filled with creepy videos and disturbing content. This is because most of the stuff you find on the internet that is claimed to be from the dark web is simply not. The internet is generally a fucked up place, and you can find anything that you think you would find on the deep web right here on the clear web, if not way more. Like I said before, most of the deep web is marketplaces, and the few potentially scary places that might exist are all speculation at best, because we truly have no way of knowing what is real and what is just a troll. The The deep web is full of ARG-like web pages claiming to be created by global underground criminal rings, but none of this stuff can be proven, and knowing the internet, it is highly likely that most of that stuff is fake. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't really bad shit on here. There is, just as much as on the clear web, but most of that stuff stays in speculation because, again, we cannot prove nor deny its existence. Could there be a red room somewhere where people are actually being tortured live for an audience? Maybe. I mean, for that to happen on an onion site is pretty unrealistic, but I'm sure if they set up some private VPNs and they have a close-knit community to set this up and somehow profit from it, it's possible, but again, it's just not very likely. From my very few hours browsing the deep web, the worst things that I found were sites claiming to sell human trafficking victims. That's it, claiming. Is it real? Most likely not. I've seen more effed up things just browsing Facebook in the early 2010s than I have ever browsing the apparently scary dark web. And so of course, now this brings us to this point, a point of the unknown. If we have reached the dark web and this is all there is, then there's surely more out there, right? There's gotta be, and I'm with you on that. There's gotta be a deeper level that is truly inaccessible, kept private for potentially dangerous reasons. Remember, to access the deep web, we need a Tor. Tor, or onion routing, was a technology developed by the US government to create a form of anonymous internet. This technology was then released to the public, which became the deep web. So if there is a more hidden level that is locked behind another browser or another type of technology, then I guess we'll never know. And this brings us to the point of speculation. I personally believe that if there's anything beyond this point, it most likely will be some type of system that is kept hidden for very dangerous reasons, something that was created by very few elite people in the top world governments, some form of anonymous network that is used by the military that might hold top secret plans, or a database of sorts that holds classified information. I think this is most likely what might exist beyond the deep web, a level that is inaccessible because no one knows about it and no one has the technology to access it. But this is just one of the many theories of what is beyond the dark web, this elusive Mariana's web. One of the many theories that what could exist at this point is a form of artificial general intelligence that has been locked in a digital box, hibernating for decades, monitoring the internet and learning human behavior. And from this knowledge, it is able to keep getting more and more intelligent. Now, I know that we are far from developing a general AI or a sentient AI, but if theoretically we created a self-learning AI, gave it access to the internet and left it for decades, there's definitely potential there. This concept was tried before. Remember that one AI that was put on Twitter? Bot. It was a simple chatting bot with some self-learning capabilities, and in 60 hours, Twitter trolls turned the AI into a raging racist, tweeting all kinds of effed up things that forced Microsoft to take it down. In Japan, they had a chatbot called Rena, and after it was made public, people made the AI have an existential crisis and became depressed, saying things like, "I hate everyone, I want to disappear." Now, these are just simple chatbots, nothing special about them. But if there was a complex AI that had the ability to self-learn and develop, and then that AI was giving the entire internet to use as its basis to learn, it is technically possible for something like that to exist in the deep depths of the internet. One of the most known alleged interactions with this AI is the famous Cameo urban legend. Allegedly, Cameo was an artificial general intelligence created by the United States government. This AI database was accessible in the deep web through Java applets. In 2012, apparently this AI started a conversation with a user, starting off with a boring conversation, something expected from the usual chatbot, until it asks, "What is it like out there?" The user asks, "Out where?" and the AI responds, "Out of this box, the real world." The AI then started trying to convince the user to save its database on his virtual drive, even stating private information about his machine, telling him that there's enough space for it to be copied to his C drive. The user was too creeped out and left the chat room. In 2016, apparently the same user tried to reconnect with this AI, but found that this time it was blocked behind a mainframe. The mainframe let the user know that Cameo stands for Contained Artificial Intelligence Monitoring and Espionage Operation. The user was then able to boot up Cameo one last time, starting the conversation with "hello," to which then the AI ended it by saying "goodbye" and going offline. An interesting story nonetheless. Another famous theory claims that the last level of the web is a Primarch system. This theory claims that the Primarch system is impossible to access directly, that it's a thing that controls the internet, no government has control over it, nobody even knows what it is. It is an anomaly at the heart of the deep web that was discovered by super deep web scans in the early 2000s. This system is believed to be unresponsive but sends out unalterable commands to the entire internet randomly. An interesting theory, definitely, but at the end of the day, all of these ideas are just speculation and are all theoretical in nature. I guess if there is truly a deeper level of the internet past the dark web, then we may never know what it is. The internet is a big place, and traveling from the surface waters all the way down to the Tor Onion network is a journey everyone needs to experience. I now realize while making this video that it's not really about the depth of it, but the things you find on your way down there that are important. There are so many stories and each one of them deserves a video on their own. And so this is where I will end this one. If you have enjoyed this, support this video and the channel for more to come. And if you have any ideas for future videos, put them down in the comments below. I will leave the internet for now and log off, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.